Now at 9, the Kansas Attorney General has removed the Neosho County prosecutor from a murder case. Plus, how a multi-million-dollar donation will help the Carthage School District build a new baseball stadium.
And the details on the Asbury power plant implosion. I'm Fernanda Silva with the story.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A lot more firepower than fireworks. A quick series of blasts and a Southwest Missouri fixture for more than half a century comes to the ground as a crew implodes the Asbury power plant. This is KOAM News at 9. I'm Dow Quick. This morning's implosion used almost 1,700 pieces of dynamite and other explosives. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has the story.
Authorities say the blast safely brought down one power plant, one air pollution control system building, and 2 original concrete and brick stacks in less than 20 seconds. Commissioned in 1970, the Asbury power plant was removed from service in March 2020, but only now, more than 3 years later, it was imploded.
It didn't make too much noise, number one, but it was just neat to watch it, something close. You see that on TV or on movies or something, and I've never seen one up front like that. It was just exciting.
Now, during the summer, the area will be cleaned to be ready for its next use. The steel that is now on the ground will be cut and recycled.
You know, the Asbury plant will live on somewhere. It may live in hundreds of different places in the future.
Even though Sean Rooney was very pleased about how the implosion came out, the director of strategic projects for Liberty also had a feeling of nostalgia.
From start to finish, I mean, time kind of slowed down for me for a little bit. I actually worked at that facility for almost 7 years of my career. Bittersweet day for me, and I know for a lot of other people.
Dale Jasonbeck also decided to go watch the implosion after working on the plant every spring and fall for 15 years.
It's been here 50 years. It's part of the countryside. So it's, you know, it's kind of sad, I guess, but, you know, it's part of change.
Jennifer Short also shared a similar feeling as her dad worked for the local railroad delivering coal to the plant.
It is a part of our history. It's how we generated electricity for a long time, and it's an old way of generating electricity and bringing in a different way.
Energy that's used in the area comes from the Southwest Power Pool. Our wind farms feed into that same pool that the Asbury power plant did.
But the environmental liability is just one of the reasons why the Asbury power plant was imploded.
Structure that large requires a great deal of maintenance, you know. You find that when a building is no longer continuously occupied like it once was, you know, things begin to deteriorate.
In Asbury, Missouri, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
The Asbury power plant was replaced in part by the North Fork Wind Farm, which is within sight northeast of the Asbury plant. Liberty Utilities say that Asbury employees had the opportunity to transition to new roles within the company, and many of them took positions supporting their new wind farms. The Kansas Attorney General has removed the Neosho County attorney from prosecuting a murder case. Parsons, Kansas area native Dakota Patton went missing in April. His body was found in a field in May. Authorities say he had been shot to death. Clint and Kimberly Nybarger were arrested for Patton's murder and are now awaiting trial. Patton's family raised concerns about previous professional connections between Clint Nybarger and the Neosho County Attorney Linus Thuston. A court order was filed earlier this month to remove him as prosecutor in this case, and now the state attorney general has stepped in to approve that court order. A jury today found a Newton County, Missouri man guilty of child sex crimes. Authorities say 31-year-old Jonathan Kavit sexually abused a 4-year-old girl at a house near Granby. The jury found him guilty of 1 count of statutory rape, 2 counts of statutory sodomy. Kavit will be sentenced at the end of August. Southeast Kansas woman has entered a plea of no contest as part of a plea bargain to drop several charges. Authorities say Alexis Metcalf stole from the attorney's office where she worked in Fort Scott. She was originally charged with 2 counts of theft of services and 16 counts of forgery dealing with checks in August of 2022. Court documents show that Metcalf entered the no contest plea for one count of theft. The state agreed to drop all other charges. Boy, it was a scorcher out there. Let's check in with meteorologist Sam Lane.
You're right, Dow. It was very, very hot across the area. In fact, near record highs across the region. And tomorrow's going to be more of the same. Lots of sunshine. Your UV index forecast for tomorrow shows it's going to be 11 on a scale of 0 to 12. So that means less than 10 minutes outside could start to cause a sunburn. So make sure that you have all the precautions needed to protect yourself. One of the ways that you can do that is go out to the lake. Enjoy the nice lake. Grand Lake right now is looking pretty good. Table Rock Lake is about a little over a foot above normal, but still not in bad shape. And Stockton, about the same thing, 1.11 feet above normal. So a great day to head out towards the lake. And looking down the lane, we do have some more record heat on the way. And then we have the drought, of course, continuing. But we do have some Saturday storms in the forecast. And I'll tell you all about the hot holiday weekend when we come back.
See you soon. The Carthage School District has announced a $2.5 million donation to build a new baseball stadium. The district's old stadium was declared unsafe by the city's engineer in February. KD and ML Steadley Trust Bank of America is donating the money for the new stadium. The district will receive $500,000 installments over the next 5 years. The new stadium will be located on the northeast corner of the high school campus. The construction schedule has not yet been finalized. Freeman Hospital is giving high school students a unique experience this summer. Freeman Health Academy includes job shadowing, CPR certification, treatment scenarios, and more. This teaches students health care and patient care, all while allowing them to experience the career path they desire.
I think it's a good portal into the medical field because the shows aren't really that good, and if you don't have a family member in the medical field, it's hard to see exactly how it functions from the inside, and this program is a good way to get a view at that to see if it's really what you want to do with your life.
Freeman serves a lot of schools in various communities including Joplin, Webb City, Carl Junction, Seneca, McDonald County, and more. Employees from a Joplin business today donated more than 1,000 pounds of pet food and cleaning supplies to the Joplin Humane Society. Alorica employees collected and paid for those supplies. Officials say this donation is going to go a long way for the shelter.
It's just things that we can use every day, things like dog food, cleaning supplies, and these are just going to be a tremendous benefit to the animals and the people that are here at the shelter.
So some of the donations came from our employees where they just donated their money and we went out and purchased the supplies. And then a lot of our employees just brought in dog food, cleaning supplies, things like that, and just dropped them off at the site.
The donation was made through Alorica's nonprofit, Making Lives Better with Alorica. Coming up, the mother of a Carl Junction teen who took his own life 10 years ago is speaking out about youth suicide. According to a recent study by the CDC, 52% of LGBTQ+ youth had recently experienced poor mental health, and more than 1 in 5 attempted suicide in the past year. For one local family, that statistic hits too close to home. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has more.
Luke Nugent was a Carl Junction boy with a taste for memes, especially ones about Chuck Norris.
He was obsessed with memes and Chuck Norris, before they were really popular. So he'd eat the internet up. He'd love every second of it.
It's been 10 years since Luke took his own life, but his friends, Kobe and Carly, still feel his impact. Seeing this after all these years makes Luke's mom proud.
It gives me hope that love like Luke gave is really a lasting impact on people that they carry for the rest of their lives, even if he's not in their life anymore, and it will forever inspire them to spread that kind of love too.
Those closest to Luke says he was bullied because of his sexuality. His mother, Jessica Nugent, turned her grief into action. She holds one-on-one meetings with victims of bullies. Through her one-on-ones, she noticed what she says a lack of understanding in school systems.
Some evaluation as we go into this new school year, get ready for this new school year, Like, what is your attitude towards your students and every single student? Those kinds of things. I don't know that necessarily new policies need to be implemented or blanket statements need to be made to everybody, but for each of those educators to even just do some introspection.
Luke friends believe if he were here, he'll be happy attitudes are changing, but there's still work to be done. Although what Luke went through was a decade ago, a 2022 study by the Trevor Project says 45% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered suicide in the past year.
Kind of changing. I mean, I just went to a little Pride Fest at JB's last week, I think. So that was pretty cool, and there was a lot of people. There's like 80, 90 plus people there, so it was a decent show, and there's a lot of people going out and supporting it, so it seems like it's changing. Yeah, she became more family than a friend's mom.
Reporting in Joplin, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Luke Nugent's mother promotes the importance of calling the 988 suicide hotline when times are hard. The Joplin Public Library is hosting an art exhibit themed around eating disorders and body image. It's called Reflections of Hunger. There are 30 pieces, all of which showcase the lived experiences of local residents dealing with eating disorders and body image issues. Organizers hope this exhibit will help fight the stigma around these issues.
Sure. Eating disorders are the second deadliest mental illness out of all mental illnesses. And it's where people start to really struggle to have a healthy relationship with food, but also their bodies as well. And I think that's something that all of us can relate to in the culture that we have. And I think that's what our exhibit is about, so that everybody can see themselves in it and understand it.
The free exhibit will be open through the end of July. Sam is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later a Pitt State track and field star announces he's going pro.
Well, folks, it was another scorcher across the 4 states, lots of sunshine. In fact, we got close and tied the record in Joplin this morning down in Seneca, Missouri at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. You can see just a few clouds this morning, and then that gave way to bright sunny skies and lots of heat. Not only for Seneca, but across the entire area. Many locations were close to or even broke the record, and now we're just left with some fair skies. In Joplin, we made it up to 103, which actually did tie the record back in 1952, and the normal low is 68, but we were only 79 for the low. So it was a very, very warm day, and you can see on the rainfall, we're still behind for the month as well as the year. There is some rain on the radar, but it's way out to the west, and unfortunately not getting any closer to us. It's going to stay to the west for at least another day, but then as we head towards the weekend, things might be changing just a little bit. We are still under a heat advisory until Friday at 7 p.m., and that includes southeastern Kansas counties and also all of southwestern Missouri. As I mentioned, the drought has still been in effect, and really the only county that is not being impacted severely by the drought is Lawrence County, but everyone else is either in some form of drought or another, especially Chautauqua and Elk and Montgomery counties. Exceptional drought just continues, and we really need some rain to help alleviate that just a little bit. Temperatures this evening are still up there, generally in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees. It's still 90 in Miami, Oswego, Welch, Veneta, Sedan. A little bit cooler over in Stockton, where they're currently down to 87, and cooler still at Cassville at 85. But when you factor in the dew point, this is what it feels like. It still feels like 100 right now in Veneta, and 101 in Grove as well as Jay. Feels like 92 cooler degrees over there in Cassville. Now, as we go through time, tomorrow we're going to see temperatures once again, as far as the heat indexes, getting up there over 100 degrees. 105, a pretty popular number. Even hotter still to the north in Nevada and Stockton, where it'll feel like 107 by tomorrow afternoon. All right, let's take a look at the rain chances. Hopefully we can see some relief here. And unfortunately, tonight and most of tomorrow, 0. And then a 20% chance of storms, especially up towards the north and way out to the west. I think we're going to have to wait till Saturday evening and early Sunday morning before the rain chances really start to increase. And you can see the rainfall amounts are generally going to be on the light side, maybe around 1/4 of an inch, a 1/2 inch in some of those lucky areas that get underneath a heavier thunderstorm. But that is about it. And then as we head towards Saturday, there is a risk of severe weather too, but it's mainly going to be up to the north and east. A marginal risk across the rest of the area, so we'll have to keep an eye on that for you. Just make sure that you have the app downloaded. Tomorrow we're going to see highs once again in the upper 90s to around 100 degrees. Tonight we're going to see lows in the 70s, and then like I said, tomorrow afternoon right back up to the century mark, and that would actually tie the record 100 degrees if we reach that in Joplin, which I think we will, up above 100 towards the north and west. And then the storms start to move into our area as we go into Saturday morning with temperatures in the mid-70s. And then Saturday afternoon, another round of showers and storms are possible with highs in the upper 80s to around 90. And then as we go into Sunday morning, as you head out to church services, looking pretty good with dry northwesterly winds, partly cloudy skies, and lows in the 60s and 70s. And this stubborn high pressure is finally going to weaken and move off towards the east, giving us a little bit of a break. All right, let's take a look at the next 7 days. We do have a chance of showers and storms as we go into Saturday, a little bit cooler on Sunday and Monday in the 4th, about 92 degrees. And actually next week looks closer to normal, Dow.
Yeah, which would be tolerable for sure.
It'd be tolerable, yep.
Thanks, Sam. People living in the St. Louis region are dealing with hazy conditions caused by smoke from wildfires in Canada. Air quality measurements yesterday put the city in the very unhealthy category. Reporter Russell Kinsall has more on how the haze is impacting everyday activities.
At camp today, my counselor, she said it was because of forest fires.
6-year-old Amelia Jones attended a day camp at the Kirkwood YMCA today. Counselors had to explain why most of their activities were restricted to the inside of the building. The same precautions were taken at YMCA camps across the region. Smoke from wildfires in Canada created a haze over St. Louis and posed a risk from the poor air quality for those with or without asthma.
The smoke contains particulate matters, tiny little particles that are inhaled into the lungs. When they get down into the deepest part of the lungs, the alveoli, it can cause irritation and inflammation.
The Kirkwood Riptide swim team practices at the Kirkwood Aquatic Center, but the team's coach scaled back this morning's practice as a safety precaution.
We made a choice to cancel our first practice this morning, which normally takes place from 7:30 to 8:30 and has some 11 and over kids swimming. They can get into some pretty rigorous activities, so we didn't want to expose them to the air quality at that time.
There were plenty of people who were outside throughout the day, taking advantage of the summer weather. And whether they knew it or not, it's been a challenging year for their lungs.
This is probably one of the worst seasons I've seen in St. Louis in a decade. And there have been all sorts of factors that have been contributing to it. The heat, the air pollutants.
Coming up, the travel nightmare continues.
Still plenty of stranded passengers as airlines scramble to get back up and running for the holiday weekend. I'm CB Cotton at LaGuardia Airport, New York. I've got the details coming up.
The trouble in the skies is getting better in some areas and worse in others, as even more flights are grounded across the country. Fox News correspondent CB Cotton has more from LaGuardia Airport in Queens, New York.
Today, nice shiny weather, but we're not going anywhere.
We were hoping Thursday might signal the end of the nationwide travel nightmare, but it appears there's no end in sight. According to FlightAware, airlines had already delayed thousands of flights and canceled hundreds by midday, leaving stranded passengers frustrated and looking for answers.
I just want to get away from this airport. It's been since Sunday, and they lost my luggage. They told me my luggage was in Dallas, Texas.
There have been tens of thousands of delays and cancellations this week. We're told staffing shortages are the main problem, both within the TSA and with the airlines themselves. And while weather is playing a role as well, travelers say they're definitely noticing a lack of personnel.
The aircraft arrived, but then they told us that they were missing staff people, so there were not enough crew members.
These delays are impacting airports nationwide, but the Northeast has been the hardest hit. And United Airlines, with a major hub in New Jersey, tells Fox News they're now calling in off-duty flight attendants and pilots to help get these planes moving. But it might not be fast enough. The TSA says Friday will be the busiest day of the holiday weekend, with some 3 million passengers expected.
Everybody's calm, I think, which is a good thing. But there's no flights. They keep canceling everything.
TSA predicts almost 18 million Americans will fly over the weekend, beating a pre-pandemic record. At LaGuardia Airport, New York, CB Cotton, Fox News.
Up next, we're going to hear one man's tale of having an entire plane all to himself. One American Airlines passenger's flight got delayed for hours, and when he finally did get on a plane after a number of cancellations on Monday, he was the only person on it. the only passenger on the plane. Take any seat you want, Phil. Phil Stringer was on his way home from Oklahoma City to Charlotte, North Carolina, but thanks to severe weather, his flight was delayed for 18 hours, pushed back up to 7 times. Stringer decided to wait it out, and it turned out to be worthwhile because he did have the plane all to himself. Got a lot of special attention from the crew. I'm sure the flight crew even made light of that situation. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. A symposium in Joplin gives residents a look at the future of smart cities. Plus, area high school students showcase their research projects at a symposium at Crowder College. Joplin Tech Company is giving people a glimpse into the future. Automated technology company today hosted a Smart City Symposium. It featured industry experts from different companies discussing new tech innovations designed to improve the everyday lives of residents.
Smart city really is a random term, but Joplin, we look at how we can become more efficient as a community, as a city, make it easier for our citizens to live, play, and work in Joplin.
That symposium was free. It was at the Joplin Family Worship Center. Another symposium, this one at Crowder College in Neosho, showcased student research projects. It's part of the Upward Bound Summer Academy program. The projects were part of 16 different classes ranging from crime scene investigation to agriculture to graphic design. Officials say the academy gives high school students valuable skills.
History isn't always what we think it is. Sometimes it could just be up to a person to think about what they can think really whatever they want. We learned that the main difference is the past is what actually happened. History is what we interpret it based on the evidence we have available to us.
Upward Bound officials say they serve 300 students from 37 high schools in southwest Missouri. Pittsburgh Child Welfare Agency is celebrating Family Reunification Month. TFI today hosted a pinwheel planting ceremony. The pinwheels are yellow in honor of Family Reunification Month, which recognizes efforts to help families stay together in foster care.
All the time is to try to bring those children and their parents back together. So when we have an opportunity to celebrate the instances where that happens, we want to take advantage of that, and so that's why we do this event every year.
TFI officials say they helped reunite 300 families last year. The nation's highest court just handed down another bombshell decision with ripple effects all across our country. They ruled race-based policies in higher ed violates the Constitution's Equal Protections Clause. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera is breaking down that decision on affirmative action from Washington.
The Supreme Court rules against affirmative action, a decision that will force schools to rewrite their admissions policies. In a landmark opinion Thursday, the Supreme Court ruled colleges and universities can no longer use race as a factor in the admissions process, saying policies at the University of North Carolina and Harvard were discriminatory.
Asian Americans were the ones who were artificially capped low. They were being punished by Harvard University, who gave them the lower personality scores.
The 6-3 decision split the court along ideological lines. Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for the majority, said the student must be treated based on his or her experience as an individual, not on the basis of race. Many universities have for too long done just the opposite. The dissent, written by Justice Sonia Sotomayor, said the court stands in the way and rolls back decades of precedent and momentous progress. Advocates, including President Biden, are afraid the ruling could lead to a drop in Black and Hispanic students.
We cannot let the decision be a permanent setback for the country.
The NAACP is also against the decision, writing, "We will not allow hate-inspired people in power to turn back the clock." Republicans, meanwhile, are applauding the court.
Look, we want to live in a colorblind society.
Now colleges will have to grapple with how to revamp their admissions criteria.
You can still emphasize race, but you have to do it in terms of your individual struggle with racial discrimination.
The president says he's directing the Department of Education to look for other ways to build more inclusive and diverse student bodies. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Now, we reached out to both Missouri Southern and Pitt State to learn how today's ruling might impact their admissions. We have not yet heard back from PSU, but in a statement released this evening, Missouri Southern says in part, quote, "While the university is carefully reviewing the decision to better understand its scope, We do not believe Missouri Southern, its policies, practices, or students will be directly impacted by this ruling. A bit later, we're going to have some tips to help keep you and your family safe while using fireworks during the 4th of July holiday.
Well, folks, it was another scorcher across the area with temperatures reaching well over 100 degrees. In fact, we tied the record in Joplin. Right now, though, it's a pretty pleasant evening, including Seneca, Missouri, to Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Just a few high, thin cirrus clouds off in the distance, associated with some thunderstorms that are well far away from us. As I mentioned, we tied the record today in Joplin. 103 was where we topped out, which was the record back in 1952. Look at the low, 79. If you want to call that a low, that was well above the average of 68. And of course, not anywhere near the record of 58 back in 1985. We're also behind on rainfall, and that's bad as the drought just continues. There are some storms on radar, but they're way out to the west in western Kansas, and unfortunately that's moving towards the north and east away from us. We're going to have to wait another day or so before we start to see rain chances increasing in our area. We are under heat advisory until 7 o'clock Friday evening. That's for southwestern Missouri and the far southeastern Kansas counties. Here's a look at the drought situation. The update came in today, and basically the only county in our area that's not affected is Lawrence County. Everyone else is in some form of drought, exceptional, of course, for Chautauqua, Elk, and parts of Montgomery County as the drought just continues to hang on. What's also hanging on is the warm temperatures. Tonight you can see generally upper 80s, still 90 at this hour, believe it or not, down in Grove, 89 in Sedan, as well as Nowata, and 87 up in Iola. And when you factor in the dew point, it actually feels pretty close to 100. In fact, it feels like 100 still down in Grove right now. 96 in Nevada, 96 also in Stockton, a little bit cooler in Mount Vernon, where it feels like it's 90 degrees, but still pretty warm at this time of night. Temperatures are going to feel very warm again tomorrow. In fact, around 105 across the area. Once we see temperatures above 100 and the humidity factored in, it's going to be another scorcher out there. Rainfall chances are going to be small tonight and most of tomorrow. Maybe an isolated storm or two way out to the west tomorrow, but don't count on it. We're going to have to wait till Saturday before the rain chances really start to increase. In fact, some areas could pick up maybe 0.6, 3/4 of an inch in some isolated spots. Most everyone's going to be around a 1/2 inch or less across the areas we go into the weekend, but at least it's something. Storm chances are going to be there on Saturday as a marginal risk of severe weather. The best risk of severe weather is going to be up towards the north and east, but we'll keep an eye on it for you. Instead, tonight we're going to see mostly fair skies with temperatures in the upper 70s. And then tomorrow, temperatures once again above the century mark across a large segment of our area. And then as we go into Saturday morning, scattered showers and storms start to move back into our area. Temperatures in the mid-70s. And then Saturday afternoon, again, scattered thunderstorms here and there with highs around 90. So at least it'll feel cooler as well, especially as we go into Sunday with northwest winds and temperatures dropping into the 60s and lower 70s for lows. How about the next 7 days? Well, 100 tomorrow, so that's an alert day. That actually would tie the record Dow for tomorrow. And then 88 cool degrees on Sunday. And then the 4th of July, scattered thunderstorms with a high of 92. And then next week actually looks pretty close to normal with highs near 90 and lows in the 60s.
That'll be welcome, and we hope those scattered thunderstorms don't rain out anybody's 4th of July
exactly.
celebrations.
We want it to be dry for that.
Thanks, Sam. Coming up in sports, the Outlaws battle the Heat and the best team in their division. Plus, Joplin is chosen to host multiple national championships. John Dales has those stories and more coming up.
The past couple months have been something else for Pitt State track and field's Cordell Tinch. The first weekend of May, he won all 4 events he participated in at the MIAA Championships. 3 weeks later, he did the exact same at the NCAA D2 Championships. And last weekend, he set an NCAA record at the Arkansas Grand Prix. Now today, he announces there will be no further collegiate competitions in store because Tinch is turning pro. Now this comes just over a week before he's competing in the USA Track and Field Outdoor Championships with the best athletes the country has to offer. And his now former head coach Kyle Rutledge says these recent accomplishments by Tinch have not only put him on the map, but also his school.
Well, it just helps everybody in general. It helps Pittsburgh State as a school, as our athletic department, everybody in general. So it's just great publicity for us, and we're just extremely proud of him and what he's done for this university and our program.
And speaking of championships, Joplin will be the host for a couple upcoming junior college national titles. The Joplin Sports Authority announces today that Missouri Southern will host the 2024 and 2025 D2 Women's National Championships in basketball. This is another step forward in putting Joplin on the map to host similar events like this in the future. The JSA has previously hosted the D2 Men's Golf Championship. The women's basketball tournament at MSSU will feature 20 teams competing over the course of 6 days. Now to local baseball, 100-degree temperatures don't stop the Joplin Outlaws. They play host to Jefferson City tonight at Joe Becker Stadium, looking to make up ground in the standings as well, because entering tonight, the Renegades are in first place in the Mink League South, while the Outlaws are actually in last. Joplin, losers of 3 straight entering tonight's contest, and again, Jeff City on a hot streak. They're sitting in first place. We start in the first inning, and Colton Reynolds for the Outlaws gives this ball a ride to deep left field. That's going to bounce up against the fence and off it. It's an RBI double, and it gives Joplin a 1-0 lead. We're still in the first, and later in the inning, Jarrett Nelson, who homered last night, he hits this ball hard through the left side. That's an RBI single, and Joplin leads 2-0 in the first inning. We go ahead to the top of the second now. 3-0 Outlaws at this point, but Charlie Rogan knocks one into center field. Cade Shupp comes in to score for Jeff City. Renegades on the board, but it's still a 3-1 Joplin lead. We go ahead to the fourth inning. Garrett Chung hammers this ball on a line drive. Cole Hill comes in to score for the Outlaws, along with Byron Blaze, who slides in safely at the plate. The Outlaws run away with this one. Joplin takes down Jeff City 15-2. And over in pro baseball, the Royals have gotten used to losing. In their first series of the year against AL Central foe Cleveland, Kansas City lost by 1 on Tuesday, then was blown out 14-1 last night. This afternoon presents a little bit of a different story, though. The Royals get maybe their best win of the season. This one was back and forth down the stretch. It goes to extra innings before they win 4-3. In the top of the 10th inning, Guardians grabbed the lead after Jose Ramirez stole home. Not to be outdone, though, Kansas City comes back in the bottom of the 10th. Freddie Fermin hits a walk-off 2 RBI double to seal the win. However, you can't quite say the same about the Cardinals. It seemed like the Royals and Cardinals just aren't allowed to win on the same night. This one was headed in the wrong direction from the jump. The Astros jump all over starting pitcher Adam Wainwright before he could even get out of the second inning. They didn't stop there, though. Astros go for 8 more after that 6-run inning, and they go 14-0, the final score.
It's been a disappointing year for both teams, but the Cardinals in particular have been accustomed to making the playoffs in recent years.
Yeah, they have. Their fan base is not used to losing, and not used to losing in this way, certainly. And when you see a guy who's been with the Cardinals that long, like Adam Wainwright, it doesn't seem right to see him get chased in the second inning like that.
Countdown to the 4th of July is well underway, but before you set off your own fireworks or attend a public display, health and safety advocates say there's a laundry list of things you need to know to avoid getting hurt. Fox News' Gary Baumgarten takes a closer look.
Fireworks are a 4th of July staple. But these beautiful explosions of light come with plenty of risks, from life-threatening burns, head, neck, and eye injuries, hearing loss, and more.
They generate a lot of heat, a lot of energy like light and gas, and all those can be hazardous.
Exposure to loud sounds above 70 decibels cause noise-induced hearing loss, or NIHL, and it's often accompanied by tinnitus. Tinnitus is a ringing sound in your ears when there is no other sound present.
The most recent data from the Consumer Product Safety Commission finds more than 11,000 people were hurt in firework-related incidents in 2021. Adding firework injuries have been on the rise, increasing by 25% between 2006 and 2021.
Fireworks is a combustion reaction in which we're having oxygen and other fuels added together that produces light, sound, propels things through the air.
Fireworks even have the potential to ignite wildfires or set your house ablaze.
If you have dry weather combined with pyrotechnics, then pyrotechnics generate an immense amount of heat. it's more likely that they'll start a fire.
Health experts say you should stay far away from fireworks being set off and wear earplugs.
Hearing damage can occur in less than 7 minutes.
If fireworks are going to be a part of your at-home celebrations, safety advocates recommend keeping buckets of water nearby in case of an emergency. But in the end,
My best advice is to simply let the professionals do their job.
Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
Coming up, we're going to take a look at what's new in theaters and in streaming. Several adventures are on the big screen and streaming this week, including the return of Indiana Jones. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
I've been looking for this all my life.
Indiana Jones returns to the big screen in the 5th installment of the franchise, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Dad told me you found something.
The adventure follows Harrison Ford reprising his role as the famed archaeologist, and his goddaughter, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, racing against time to find a legendary dial which can change the course of history.
In the time I have left, I would like to spend it with you.
The family drama Prisoner's Daughter stars Brian Cox and Kate Beckinsale in a story about a man diagnosed with terminal cancer, granted a compassionate release after 12 years in prison. With the condition, he lived with his estranged daughter.
You have powers beyond your imagination.
An animated option in theaters, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, stars Lana Condor as Ruby, dealing with everyday teenage life while also being a Kraken in disguise. The star-filled voice cast also includes Toni Collette and Coleman Domingo, Will Forte, Jane Fonda, Sam Richardson, and Annie Murphy.
Your sidekick has arrived.
An animated film to stream at home, Netflix adds Nimona, based on the best-selling graphic novel. Chloe Grace Moretz and Riz Ahmed lead the tale about a knight in a futuristic world framed for a crime and a shape-shifting teen he's trained to destroy, the only one who can help prove his innocence.
Something, 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 we win.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of Moshu, the red panda, at an Oregon zoo. Let's make it a great tomorrow.